Grand Theft Auto 6. I mean, it's not just a game, right? It's pretty much the most anticipated cultural event of the decade, but its journey has been just completely wrapped in mystery, delays, and a ton of speculation. So today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating theory that might just pull back the curtain on what's actually been going on inside Rockstar games.
All right, let's jump right in. To really get this story, you have to understand the stakes. And it pretty much all boils down to this number right here, $2 billion. That is the rumored budget for just development and marketing. That makes it one of the most expensive entertainment products ever made in history. When you're playing with that kind of money, failure is just not an option.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of the issue, doesn't it? With so much riding on this, why does the release date feel like a moving target? The official line is always about polishing the game. But, if you start looking at the evidence, a much more complicated and way more interesting story starts to take shape.
So where do we even begin this whole investigation? Well, we have to start inside Rockstar itself. Because look, to get a handle on what might have changed in the game, we first have to look at what's changed inside the company that makes it. Now check out the pattern here. This is really crucial. Full production supposedly kicks into high gear back in 2018. Then, bam, 2020, Dan Houser leaves. This wasn't just some co-founder, this was the lead writer, the guy who basically invented the satirical voice of the entire franchise. Fast forward to 2023 and another key writer, Michael Unsworth, is gone too. Think about that, right in the middle of making the biggest game they've ever made. The two main architects of GTA's entire identity just walked out.
And this slide really gives us the context for why they might have left. During this exact same time frame, reports started surfacing about a major cultural shift happening inside the studio. We're talking about new sensitivity rules, company-wide courses on diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and a huge report from Bloomberg claiming writers were specifically told to stop punching down, which is a total 180 from the equal opportunity offender satire that made the series famous.
So you've got this changing of the guard, you've got this cultural shift happening inside Rockstar. But the story doesn't end there, not even close. The next piece of the puzzle means we have to look outside the company, at the huge warning shots being fired across the entire gaming world.
And this just perfectly lays out the dilemma they were facing. On one side, you've got games like Battlefield V and the Suicide Squad game that got hit with massive player backlash and really bad sales after people accused them of being woke. But on the other side, you have a game like Hogwarts Legacy, which faced its own storm of controversy and then went on to become an absolute commercial monster. If you're Rockstar, looking at this, the financial lesson is impossible to miss. The market was sending some very loud and very mixed signals about politics and games.
And a really big factor driving this whole trend is the rise of what's called inclusivity consulting. Basically, these are outside companies that studios hire to come in and check their games for diversity and representation. And according to the reports, their job isn't just to give advice. They can actually get involved in changing storylines and characters to hit certain progressive goals.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap where we are. We have key creative minds leaving, a big internal culture shift, and a super volatile market. Now let's get to the fun part and analyze the most public clues we have, the trailers themselves.
So let's look at trailer 1 from December 2023. The focus is almost entirely on our new female lead, Lucia, and her big line, "The only way is to stay together." Trust me, it really sets a specific tone. It's all about partnership, trust, a kind of modern Bonnie and Clyde love story. The whole narrative feels like it's built around her.
Now watch what happens. Trailer 2 drops in May 2025, and the tone doesn't just change, it does a complete flip. Suddenly, the focus is on the male protagonist, Jason, and his key line, "Just go get me my checks." All that romance and trust, it's gone. It's cynical, it's all business, and it feels like a hard swing back to that classic, gritty crime vibe the series is known for.
And here's where the timing becomes absolutely critical. That second, much grittier trailer, it came out right after Rockstar's parent company, Take-Two, quietly deleted the words diversity and inclusion from its annual report. And those were terms they had been pushing hard just the year before. So the pivot wasn't just in the game's marketing, the corporate messaging was changing right along with it.
So let's put the pieces together. The original writers are gone, the company culture is changing, the market is punishing games perceived as woke, and then the marketing for GTA 6 itself seems to do a complete 180. When you line all that evidence up, it all points to one really compelling explanation: the Great Rewrite Theory.
So here's how the theory goes. Development starts around 2018, right at the peak of this progressive cultural wave. The original version of the game was supposedly full of these themes, maybe moving away from that classic GTA satire. But then, as they saw other games get hammered for it, Rockstar got cold feet. They allegedly ordered a massive course correction, a rewrite so huge that that's the real reason for all these delays we keep hearing about.
And this isn't just some fan theory from a random message board. It's actually backed up by reporting from guys like Jason Schreier, a very respected industry journalist, who said the game was not content complete. Now that phrase is so important. That doesn't mean you're just fixing bugs. It suggests that the actual building blocks, the story, the missions, the dialogue, were still being worked on, which fits perfectly with the idea of a massive rewrite.
Which really just leaves us with this one big and honestly kind of unsettling question. As we're all waiting for this huge game, is it satirical soul, the very thing that made it a legend, being rewritten not by artists, but by spreadsheets? Is the game we finally get going to be a product of creative vision, or is it a calculated reaction to market data and cultural winds? That is the $2 billion question, and I guess the only answer is locked away inside the game itself.